I'm in complete control of my digital environment. I need no video to tell me how I should be handling my digital devices. If this sounds like you, today's video is not for you. Hey, I'm in complete control of how I use my phone. I don't need a book to tell me how I need to use my phone. If again this sounds like you, today's book review is not for you. But if you're someone who feels like, I think I might have a problem with digital addiction, I don't know how to use my relationship with my phone the right way. If this sounds like you, today's book review is going to be super useful for you. Let's get started. Hey folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Praveen Ramesh, and on this channel we speak about non-fiction books. I summarize, review, and I speak about lessons that I'm personally learning from these books. I find it immensely useful. I hope you do too. As I said at the start, today's book review is a kind of a special one because I fumbled upon this book called Digital Minimalism by Newport. Right? So this book basically speaks about how digital addiction is as bad as something tobacco addiction or being addicted to alcohol and things like that, right? In fact, Newport kind of introduces the book with this thing called the tobacco farmers in t-shirt, right? There is this famous article that he quotes where the author compares the engineers who work on these social media apps as tobacco farmers in t-shirts in Silicon Valley. In fact, a lot of money, around like billions and billions of dollars, are poured into these social media apps for just one thing: to keep you hooked to your digital devices, right? So in case you didn't realize, I personally on an average spend about 4.5 hours in a day, right? So you take a moment now to pause and think, how many hours are you spending on your phone every day? Maybe if you're owning a smartphone, just go and check digital well-being statistics to see how much time you're spending on your smartphone. This was personally very startling for me, and when I picked up this book, I was reading it from a sole purpose of, one, knowing why am I spending so much time, and two, how can I overcome this? And today's book summary, we are just going to be covering these aspects of digital minimalism or your journey to a digital minimalism, right? So before we get into how can you avoid your addiction or avoid an addiction to a smartphone, the first thing to know is how these social media apps are designed, right? So these social media apps are designed on very powerful human psychology, right? So it's not your fault if you're addicted, because these apps, and as I said at the start, billions of dollars are poured to understand your mind and ensure that you're always hooked, right? So the first psychology that they use is called the approval, right? So what is approval, right? And how does this play a role in you being addicted? So as humans, we are all, social animals, right? We have been evolved that way. And we have always sought approval from our communities, from our immediate well-wishers, from our loved ones and everyone around us. We are people who are social animals, and we crave on validation or approval from people around us. Social media apps exactly tap into this. Now take a step back and kind of think about all the social media apps that you use, right? Instagram lets you seek validation for the images and videos that you post. LinkedIn, it helps you seek validation with your job changes or all your professional accomplishments. Pinterest, it helps you seek validation on your design and aesthetics, right? And Facebook, pretty much all about your personal life, you tend to seek validation. Here is an interesting thing that again I read, that one of the major changes that Facebook did to make you feel hooked is having notification in red color icon, right? Because red kind of sends an alarm to your body or your mind saying, hey, I need to be checking that. And hence that's one of the single biggest changes that helped Facebook have more people hooked to them. If you see all these social media apps, they're all one designed on seeking validation from your peers. And if you see all the features that they have, like tagging, adding comments, or having the likes, dislikes, and having smileys, kind of help you with the validation psychology that as humans we all keep seeking, right? So the social media apps have these to ensure that you're always hooked. The second psychology that they use is called the unpredictability. Whenever you see an unexpected positive results or a negative results that goes your way, your body releases this thing called reveal dopamine, right? So dopamine is this chemical that your body releases that seeks more of this unpredictability, right? So this is the hit that you have when you take your first drag of cigarette, or akin to social media, when you find suddenly you post a photo and you have 100 or 200 likes, right? So body kind of starts expecting this unpredictability, right? So in fact, Cal Newport quotes this example of you playing in a slot machine in Las Vegas or in a casino near you. You keep putting in money in a hope that you will win some point in time, right? So similarly, you keep engaging on social media, or you keep swiping up and down, hoping that there is a like that suddenly pops up, or you're hoping that there is something new that pops up on your news feed, because your body and your mind kind of seeks that unpredictability and sends that positive dopamine hit. So what are the ill effects of constantly seeking approval, or constantly seeking for that dopamine hit day in, day out, and approximately 4 hours in a day? So Cal Newport beautifully outlines, saying the first thing is you lose your ability to hold in-person conversations or strong conversations, right? So here's the thing, all our conversations have kind of moved to digital platforms, and what has that led to? If you say something uncomfortable to me, or if I want to end a conversation with you, we never say that out verbally. Rather, it's like you send me something, I send you a thumbs up, or we send a smiley, the conversation ends there, right? So we have lost the ability to hold in-person deep conversations. The second ill effect, Cal Newport goes on to say, we are the first generation in the last probably 200 years, or probably the first generation in the human history that's spending very, very, very less time in solitude, which is you spending time with yourself, with your feelings, your emotions, with your loved ones and things like that, where you're constantly pulled in all directions by the digital apps, smartphones, and all the other things that are seeking your attention. And third and the final thing, every time you open your social media, you're just expecting something new, and our dopamine tolerance is hitting a ceiling, right? So every time you don't breach that ceiling, you feel very dejected, you get into this mental state of nothing interesting is happening and things like that, and you get into this constant loop of comparing your life with someone who's posting on social media. So basically all this boils down to you seeking approval and you seeking for the dopamine hit. Right? So now that we have spoken about how the social media apps affect you and how they use your human psychology to keep you hooked, it's time to kind of think about, hey, how do I get out of this loop, right? Again, there is going to be a separate video that I'm going to be doing about my personal journey with digital de-addiction, but some things that the author touches upon is, you taking a 30-day break, right? So you're not going to say, hey, I'm going to reduce my phone usage step on step. He goes on to say, irrespective of what phone you use, where you work, what you do, delete all the apps from your smartphone, all social media apps, all work-related apps, and take a 30-day break. And then when you reintroduce these apps into your phone, do it based on intentions and not because you're doing it on FOMO, right? So every time you install an app, just ask yourself, hey, is this something that I really need to run my day-to-day operations? Or is it okay if I not have it on my phone at all, right? Second one, use restrictions wisely. So most of the smartphones these days have this thing called digital well-being or do not disturb modes. So see if you can make that your ally to kind of declutter yourself from this digital mess that we've created for ourselves. Third and final thing is to spend some time in solitude. So what does this mean? You could have some phone-free hours, probably meditate for some time, switch off all the notifications in your phone when you're working, and have like dedicated time in a day where you spend your time browsing through or doing doom scrolling and things like that, right? Again, the author goes on to kind of have a lot of hacks. Cal Newport discusses a lot of things that you could be doing, but the main thing is to identify why you're being addicted, the psychology behind it, and to be aware that you're constantly being pulled in these directions. That kind of wraps up what I wanted to cover, because I'm going to be doing a separate video on how I am handling with all these digital distractions. So do let me know what is the number of hours that you spend per day on your phone, and probably we all could be in this journey of together reducing the amount of time we spend on social media, so or in your smartphones. So until I see you in the next video, this is Praveen Ramesh signing off.